Voice with the NRP. This and every Monday, 8:30 to 10 p.m. Join host Stevenson Manners and the NRP candidates as they amplify your voice.
Good evening, good evening. I'm Stevenson Manners, your host of Your Voice with the NRP. It is Monday, June 30th, the fifth Monday in June. So tonight we focus on the youth perspective. But we've got so many other things to talk about as well. Of course, we're fresh from the music festival on St. Kitts, 27th. From all reports, very successful. And also on today's date, we complete the first month of the Atlantic hurricane season. Good evening, Devon. You're always here on the fifth Monday when it falls in any given month. Good night.
Good evening, Mr. Manners, and good evening to our listeners at home and abroad. I'm Devon Cornelius, and it's a pleasure to share this space with you, to bring the youth perspective here on Your Voice with the NRP. Mr. Manners, I want to begin with some...
Well, before you get into the heart of it, let me tell our listeners and viewers, we're expecting a call any minute now from a concerned citizen who has something to share with us. So at any moment when we get that call, we're going to take that call early at the top of the show, basically, because it is a matter which impacts all of us as a country, as an island. So we await that call, and we'll take it as soon as that caller makes his way in. So go ahead, Devon.
Mm-hmm. Right, so I just wanted to begin with some birthday shout-outs. Sending out birthday greetings to those who are celebrating today and during the course of this week. And I'd also like to extend deepest condolences to families who are mourning the loss of a loved one, and I pray that they find comfort during this difficult time. Mr. Manners, I also want to, as we are here to discuss things from a youth perspective, send special congratulations to Michael Louis, who was named West Indies Championship Player of the Year for the 2023-2024 season by Cricket West Indies. And I know he has received this award at the CWI or WIPA Awards Gala, which was held on Sunday, June 22nd. And it was an opportunity for Cricket West Indies to recognize his outstanding performances in the regional first class competition. And we know that Mikhail has scored.
Okay, take a pause there. I think we may have that caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Could you introduce yourself? Tell us where you are.
Good evening, Mr. Manners. How are you?
I'm very well, and Devon Cornelius is here with us as well in the studio.
Oh, good evening, Mr. Cornelius. This is David Joseph.
Good evening.
And I must say, first I must say to Mr. Manners, thanks for inviting me to call in so that we can discuss the situation that's on. Basically, what it is it's about the bath stream, the hot bath. Because we've been getting, I've been getting a number of calls in connection with the hot bath, showing that there's a lot of people who have a concern about it. And so I just want to share what I know with the people and find that they get a feedback from the people.
Okay. Well, before you go further, for the record, tell us about your association with the Bat Stream.
Well, some years ago, about 10 years ago now, we started a group. It started off as Friends of the Bat, and with the upcoming of the COVID, we renamed it as COVID Friends of the Bat, because we used to use our association to make sure the bath remain clean even during the COVID. And a group of us used to make sure that each one get home safe during the COVID, and we we can get to the bath and get back home without being harassed by police or anything like that. So we used to look out for each other during that period of time. And we used to clean the bath at the time for free. But before COVID, we started off with cleaning the bath for free. We'd come together every Saturday and clean the bath for free.
Okay, so you have a long history. And what do you say concerns you at this point in time?
Well, what's happening right now is that I've been getting a number of calls that the temperature of the water is not up to scratch, not up to what it used to be. And I checked it myself, and I found that it's not up to what it used to be. And I was approached by another gentleman. I was speaking to him about a different subject, and he brought up the subject, and so I came back to talking to him about it. That for a while I left it because I make mention of it, and no one was taking me on, so I just gave up on it. But now it was refreshed, and so I decided to start campaigning about it again to try to get it back to where it is. And
go ahead.
It's like putting me into a brick wall.
It is like what?
Hitting my head on a brick wall.
Okay. On my way in, I called you to remind you of tonight's show, and you told me that you were at the bath stream. Were you in the water? You're still there?
Yes, I'm still at the bath stream. I just came out the water to speak to you.
Okay, so tell us, what are the temperatures looking like tonight?
Much lower than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be 100 and between 104 to 110, and it's not 100 right now.
You said it's like hitting your head into a brick wall. Explain that further.
I started by last year when the 50th anniversary of Cultural Armor was coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing the temperature of the bath, what it should be, we went and I contacted 3 members of the immediate group who's supposed to be in charge of the bath, and I told them that the group of us will do the bath, will give it a general clean over for free, so that the people who come to visit will have a good experience. And in all 3 cases, the person said they'll get back to me, and I'm still waiting.
Okay.
And from that to now, it's the temperature keeps going down and down and down till now. One of the baths is basically not usable.
One of them not. Which one?
The one under the house. The water smells and it's way below what it's supposed to be.
Okay. Now, what about the people responsible? As I know it, John Hanley was the point man for the renovation, and of course that comes under the Ministry of Tourism, and that minister is the Honorable Mark Brantley, Premier of Nevis. Did you reach out to them?
I reached out to, because I knew that last year that Mr. Brantley had his hand full with the cultural village and all that. I reached out to Mr. Hanley's office and left many messages for him. I reached out to Mr. Mead, who works directly under Mr. Hanley. He said he'll get back to me. And I reached out to Mr. Daniel, who is the PS for Mr. Brantley.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he'll get back to me. And none of them did.
Okay. But you said last week on the Premier's show that both of you visited the scene.
Yes. After he was contacted, I contacted him sometime back, and then I contacted him in April somewhere, and then he was contacted by another gentleman here in Nevis. I won't call his name because I don't have his permission to do so.
Yeah.
We all agreed to meet here on a Wednesday afternoon for me to show them what is going on and what I think. One of the gentlemen didn't come, but Mr. Brantley did come.
Mm-hmm.
And basically I showed him my record, the record I have of the 3 years of the most recent 3 years of the record, the temperature,
Mm-hmm.
and he assured me that he's sure that the people who's in charge of it right now would have a record, so you're going to look into it and so they will compare it. The reason why I showed him the record, because if you examine the record, you will see that the temperature, you take the temperature every day. And then from one day to the other, you will see the change in the temperature. So
Mm-hmm.
that should, if you're discerning or if you're paying attention, you'll realize that should ring a bell to let you know it's the heating of the ratio. That that alone should make you start thinking. But apparently, no one done anything about it. I don't know if they don't have the record or they just didn't pay enough attention to the record.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it is, it took a lot of complaining, and people are complaining and texting me and calling me because I have to tell them, look, it's been years now that I've been told that I'm not capable to clean the bath.
Okay. Last week you sounded a bit disappointed because last week marked 3 weeks since the visit. So we're into the 4th week now. I foresaw that with the music festival ending as traditional, lots of returning nationals from St. Kitts and those on Nevis would go to the Restream. And of course, on Thursday of this week, we go into to Mango Festival. And then after that, of course, Culturama. As a matter of fact, today, the Restream was abuzz with activity. At least one school from St. Kitts and returning nationals, etc. Are you disappointed that nothing has been done to rectify the problem?
Yes, because it's not such a big problem. It can be fixed in a reasonable period of time, but it should not be at this time when we have the most amount of visitors to the island. We should have and not so much foreigners. A lot of our locals are coming back home. At least they should be able to come back home and enjoy what they leave here and see the improvement that we made. Yes, they spent thousands of dollars on developing of the surroundings of the bar, but now we just need to put the finishing touches. And so people are coming here to enjoy temperature, the hot water. And it is disappointing to know people come all the way from the States and hang out and want to go in the bar. And today, as you said, there was a lot of people here. Buses and buses of people came to the bar. But the temperature is not hot. The water is hot.
You said it's not a big problem. The Premier said to you, if necessary, he'll bring in a geologist. What's your response to that?
The bath was put together by locals.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, and I'll put it simply, a group of fools made the bath, put the bath together. And I don't see no reason why there should be a group of, we should need a
geologist
surgeon to come here. What a group of fools put together.
A group of fools.
Then we got a problem.
You're saying that at short order, you think you could rectify the problem there?
Yes.
Tell us.
And I have taken advice from other guys who is much more qualified than me.
Mm-hmm.
And we've brainstormed it, and we all came up with the same idea. Our approach might be a little different, but we all agree on one thing: what's supposed to be done to it. And we agree that the last 3 of us who spoke, we agree that the 3 of us will approach it. We'll use one idea, and then the other idea, and then the other idea, and we'll only admit that we fail if all 3 ideas fail.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, go ahead.
In report to that, on Saturday I sent a memo to the top guys, letting them know that in as much as everything is coming, cultural and all that is coming, we are willing to do it at our expense, and the government or the people in charge will only have to pay if it's done. If it's not done, they don't owe us anything.
Okay. What has been the response to that?
Well, it's just been 30. It started today. We sent it, so we haven't got any response from it yet. And so I don't know. No, I have put it this way, I haven't got any response. So Saturday midday it was sent, and we haven't got any response from it yet. But as one person said, it might be a little early because we had a big Acton weekend gone, and there might be some more busy over that weekend.
Yeah, they're having hangovers and all that. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's too if it's not given enough time. So when you called me and started and asked me to, I was kind of reluctant to talk about it. But I just think that I already give you a word that I will call because the information is there, and if anyone who wants to check the information can check with me. I'll give them any information they want.
And you stand ready to help.
I stand ready to help. I don't even not even just to do it now. I am willing to spend some additional time training the people who is here to do it. So when it happens again, they can fix it all. In case I'm dead, gone, and then I'm gone, they can fix it.
Okay, we want to thank you for being so proactive because, we've all grown up around the Bath Stream. It's one of our natural resources and the people use it very frequently. So we hope we can have some resolution soon. Thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, well, as I said, I come here on a regular basis. Right now, we have a few people here, maybe 6 or 8 persons here. And even though the temperature is not what it is, people are still making the best of it. And it's a shame to allow it to go down. It's a shame to allow it to go down. You might ask why I didn't speak earlier. It would not be no point. I thought it would be no point in speaking out while the work is in progress. You have to give people an opportunity to do what they're doing and see what they're doing, and then you comment after. You can't comment. You can't criticize before it's finished.
Yeah.
So that's why for the last year I kept my mouth shut and wait and see. But then, as I said, when I spoke to another gentleman about something else, he brought it up, and so the public started calling me. And I tried to, most of the people tell them, well, you just contact the person you vote for because I no longer work at the bar. But the call still keeps coming. And so when you call me and ask me about it, I decided, well, I have no objection. I have nothing to hide. I have no objection to getting an email and talking to you openly.
Okay.
I have nothing to hide.
Well, thank you very much. It's all in the public interest. Have a good night.
Thank you for inviting me, and have a good night.
Yeah, thank you very much. Devon, your reaction?
Well, I too have been hearing those concerns, Mr. Manners, as it relates to the temperature of the pools at the Bath Stream. Those concerns are really concerning, of course, and I hope that the powers that be, the Ministry of Tourism or whichever department is responsible for the Bath Stream or the Bath Stream, are taking those concerns seriously and looking into them, because the Bath Hotel or the Bath Stream, has long been a tourist attraction,
a local attraction too.
For us, and as of late, a lot of work has been done there to make it look better, let me say, and it's looking really good. But at the same time, it defeats the purpose if the water isn't hot, because it's a hot bath. And as you mentioned earlier, a number of people came over from St. Kitts.
Yeah, and they'll keep coming this week for sure.
They'll keep coming. And apart from music festival, Mango Festival, Culturama, Carnival coming up, people are going to come to Nevis and otherwise to experience the Bath. I keep saying Bath Hotel, but Bath Stream. So with that being said, I'm hoping that the authorities would look into the matter and address it.
All right, we've got an early caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice with the NRP.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just called to congratulate Mr. Joseph, and I'm appealing to the government, give the COVID bad crew 1 week with the back and you always see the difference. Have a blessed evening.
Yeah, and that's from somebody who uses the bath probably more than anybody else. She's there morning, noon, and night. Very interesting. We'll see where that leads. Music festival. You had a very busy weekend. I followed a lot of your reports. And even today, you've been busy wrapping up. And tell us about the 27th installment of the Sink It's Music Festival.
Well, before I go to the music festival, I just wanted to again quickly congratulate Michael Louis, who has been doing big things in cricket and for representing St. Kitts and Nevis. I also want to give a shout out to a colleague and friend, Dak Brown, who is also doing good things in cricket, sports, specifically cricket. We see you and we celebrate your efforts. I also want to give a shout out to a friend and colleague, Jalen Archibald, who is pursuing studies in the area of political science. And we often discuss the state of affairs as it relates to the politics of the day in St. Kitts and Nevis and across the region, as well as there are a number of similarities with the islands in terms of our politics. But all in all, Mr. Manners, I want to give a special shout out as well to all young people here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
We can't forget Zara Claxton.
Zara Claxton. But you know, all young people in St. Kitts and Nevis who are taking up space and who are doing great things, because I'm doing this because we live in a society where, or a society that is not very forgiving at times when our young people, you know, hit a stumbling block or they mess up. And so I'm saying, if we can call them out or criticize or whatever it is, in the same breath, we ought to recognize their efforts and, you know, publicly thank them and appreciate them for what they're doing. Because there are some young people out there who are going above and beyond, and for that they ought to be recognized. But as it relates to the St. Kitts Music Festival, of course, I had the opportunity to attend as part of the coverage team for ZIZ, and it was an experience like no other.
Yeah?
I think the 27th staging was a really good one in terms of the international acts and seeing the buzz in Bastia. It felt like Carnival and Culturama combined.
Serious?
You know, you a blind man could see that there was a lot happening in Bastia. I would say from as early as the 23rd, which was the Monday, and it's now going back to normal because, you know, people are going home, coming back over from Nevis and so on. And so you see where the music festival, St. Kitts Music Festival, plays a really important role in, you know, boosting the economy and creating that economic activity that we need at this time, which is usually the slow period for the tourism industry, and summer, hurricane season, and all of that. We're talking about the hotels being booked out, the rentals. I'm not sure if you saw, but I know the Seabridge, the original Seabridge and iConnect, they were really busy, you know, over the weekend. You're talking about service providers, people with media and production. So it was an opportunity, as it has been for the last 27 years, for people in our local economy to make a little change.
Make a little change.
You know, make a little change. When you hear that a makeup artist could clock $5,000 in 3 days during a slow season, that is major. When you hear that the rental companies with the vehicles could book out 20 rentals in 3 days, moving between St. Kitts and Nevis, that is amazing, and that is something that is welcomed. But I want to go to a point that was raised by the caretaker for St. Paul's, my caretaker, Julie Gaines, as she commented on the St. Kitts Music Festival as it relates to the age requirement, suggesting an age requirement or an age limit. And other persons also chimed in on the conversation. And it is one that I agree with Mr. Manners, because I was there and I saw for myself where people who are as old or as young as my nibblings, nieces and nephews, people who they look 10, 11, 12, they should not be at this
shouldn't be
music
there.
festival or any adult entertainment event for that matter. And so I think that the St. Kitts Tourism Authority, which is the body responsible for putting on the St. Kitts Music Festival, and the Ministry of Tourism and the committee need to look very seriously at implementing an age requirement for access. It begins at the gate. And so you come to the gate and you're asked to present your ID. I think that requirement should be at least 18, because at 18 is when you're allowed to drive, when you're allowed to vote. And it was not good to see people who are still in primary school or first form and second form at the music festival listening to the acts, some of the acts and so on. So I think that is something that definitely needs to be looked at very seriously by the powers that be. However, this is a conversation that has been ongoing for quite some years now, but nothing really much has been done about it. And I suspect that progress on that is going to be slow. And I say that because over the years, people have been complaining about the smoking at the music festival, where people will...
All right, let's hear what this caller has to say. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Good evening, Mr. Manners, and good evening,
Devon.
Mr. Cornelius.
Good evening.
I'm listening to you here, and my mouth has just dropped. Are we saying that we have children in the age range of 11 and those ages that are going to the music festival?
Yes.
And may I ask the question, is this not an issue for parents as opposed to the music festival people? Because if I don't, I'm mumbling because I really don't even know where to start with this. Those children didn't get dressed and go there by themselves and
Correct.
pay $100 and whatever for those tickets. How did they get there? So it can't be the music festival people. And in light of what has happened in the Federation in the middle of music festival, the news that we had to deal with, we've lost our way. We have totally lost our way. No parent in their right mind would be wanting to take a child 9, 10, 11 or whatever age to the music festival. Why would they? And Devon, maybe I cut you off too early. You started to talk about the music. But I watched some of the shows. I did not go to the music festival, but I watched some of it on YouTube. And the behavior on the stage for some of them was outrageous. Nothing void of sex on the stage. So here again, are you telling me that there were 9, 10, 11-year-old children in that crowd watching that? Wow. Wow. We, in this federation, and I can only speak of St. Kitts because I don't know anything about the other countries. As parents, we have to take a stand. Otherwise, we are going to be hearing more bad news like the one we're experiencing right now if we don't take a hold and be responsible for our children and what our children get exposed to. Because this can't be. It can't be. And in all fairness to the music festival people, it ain't their problem. Yes, they should stop them at the gate. I agree with that. But it goes a lot deeper than that. It goes a lot deeper than that. And it can't be the music festival people having to make decisions about the age they're going to allow if the parents are going to allow their children or take their children to that type of event at that age. Have a good night, gentlemen.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for that.
Mr. Manners, if I may, and you know, on the point that was made by the caller, a parent or parents deciding that they were going to purchase a ticket for 175, get clothes and all of these things for their children or child to attend the music festival this year. I don't think there's anything I can say or we can say to deter them from doing that next year. That is why I believe an age requirement, and I support the recommendation by JD, an age requirement should be in place. When you show up at the festival, or even before you purchase your ticket, but you may not be able to police as much with the purchase of the ticket because I could sell this ticket to somebody and, you know, so. But when you show up at the festival, just like when you're going into a bar in other parts of the world, or a club or whatever, you show up at the festival, you present an ID. I have not seen a 9-year-old with an ID other than a passport, but you present your ID, and that ID would verify your age, which I believe should be 18 years and older. You know, I think we would have a lot of work to do to convince a lot of parents that children who are 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 should not be at the St. Kitts Music Festival. It is an event for adults. It is not an event for children. But telling some of the parents it may go in one ear and come out the next. And so to eliminate all of that,
the authorities
the
should.
authorities need to put down their foot and implement an age requirement. When you show up at the gate and you are presenting your ticket, may I please see your ID? You know? And everything is finished right there.
Okay.
That's the easy way.
Now, the caller alluded to the backdrop against which music festival was held. A 15-year-old who had been missing for over a week was found dead in the White Gate area, I think probably Saturday. McLean Hobson, who I have been liking the provocative things he writes on Facebook. Nivision lives on St. Kitts, and he posted, "Make it make sense." Absolutely no problem with the intent of the St. Kitts Music Festival. But when we in one breath find all kinds of objectives to decide Janelika Romney's killer, and in another glorify Vibes Cartel, who fortunately got off from his murder charge on a technicality, what message are we really sending? Additionally, almost every day we say empower women, yet we have no problem singing along and listening to Spice and Cartel degrading women in the name of entertainment. The deep-seated hypocrisy is more than obvious. Make it make sense. The point he is making is that as a society we strive for certain standards, for certain ideals. But at music festival time we got crazy. We bring in the raunchiest performers. As you said, there are children in the audience, and we tend to glorify it. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I saw parts of the comment that was made, and I also saw some persons commenting on that. But I wouldn't call it hypocritical across the board. In certain aspects, yes, but not across the board. And
Let's take this. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Yeah, good evening to the listening public.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening to you guys in the studio.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening.
We just want to ask a question, you know. We claim, say, right? We touted all the time that we are Christian society. We say, you know, you always hear that. Well, you got two Christian associations in this country, you know. Angelical Association and whatever the other one name, I don't even remember. But what advice are these people? What happened to them? What advice? Well, that's the question they ask tonight. What advice of these people? Good night.
Good night. And before you respond, I want to reflect on, I think it was 2019. Buju Banton was fresh out of prison. I loved the music of Buju Banton. I think we were a bit into a spike in crime at the time, but everybody around the region was looking forward to hearing Buju Banton, who had been in prison, I think, 7, 8 years before his release. And he appeared at the Think It's Music Festival. And I remember seeing a picture of the premiere backstage. Buju Banton's hand across, well, not across his shoulder, across the chair, and at the end of it, a big spliff. The premier had gone backstage, of course, for a photo opportunity at a time when he was condemning young people in Nevis for blowing smoke in people's face, and when they were telling people to stay away from criminal activity. Those are the two latest that we've had in 2019, I think it was, and this year, who have served time. Is there a happy medium we can strike?
Well, I wanted to go back to the previous caller as it relates to the Singles Music Festival. I want to highlight 3 artists, and I take a note of them here: Virgil Hodge, Abena Amri, who's from Nevis,
Yes.
and Romain Virgo. I saw some comments suggesting that St. Kitts and Nevis have forgotten about the 15-year rule. I don't think it's necessarily a fair comment, and allow me to explain. Virgil Hodge, in her performance,
Featured,
alluded,
and Abena did as well.
Miss Romney, and did a tribute to her. So I got goosebumps, Mr. Manners. And I don't think that is something that she did on her own. If she did, kudos to her. But it must have been conversations with her and the Sinkers Music Festival team, and I say the government by extension, because Janalaika Romney's picture was on the big screen.
Yeah,
So there must have been some sort of coordination. Abena Amri did it as well. And just as I was about to leave the festival, Romain Virgo sang his song that, the name of it is slipping me, but he sang a song dedicated to issues of older men preying on young children and young females in particular. That for me was truly heartwarming. Should we have cancelled the music festival? I'm not going to go to say that, because how do we say to an entrepreneur who hasn't really made any money for the year,
the big chance,
they got $10,000 this week, so how do we say to them that, man, we're going to cancel it because we don't want to encourage certain behavior per se? How do you say to the local business owners who have been presented with the opportunity to make some money, which would in turn pay their staff, which would in turn boost the economy, that we're not going to host a festival, or we're not going to bring certain acts? I saw a comment on social media where someone said, if we had brought all conscious people here, conscious artists here, we perhaps wouldn't have gotten the proceeds or seen the amount of people that we have seen over the years and saw this weekend. And the comment is right. So it begs the question, do we continue with what we're saying, or do we continue with pushing the festival to ensure that it adds to the local economy and it fills the pockets of people who genuinely need it? Because I'll tell you something, Mr. Manners, when you have to provide for your family, you will go at certain lengths, not necessarily doing illegal things or immoral things or whatever, but you would ensure that you make your dollar to provide for yourself and provide for your family. And so I don't know how I could tell the government or any of the entrepreneurs that music festivals should be cancelled, or we should eliminate those artists or limit what they can sing and say, if they're going to pump, let's say, 5 to 10 million EC into our local economy and help us put some bread on the table and
A
some
happy
milk
medium.
in the cupboard.
It's a
You know,
happy
so
medium.
it's a delicate conversation for us to have, and it's one that, yes, should be had, but it is fair for us to look at both sides. But going back to something I was trying to touch on earlier, was the smoking at the music festival. That has long been an issue, and the committee, what they did, they included this high-rise zone,
420 zone.
right, where people who smoke marijuana, they can go in that area separate and apart from other persons, other patrons attending the event, and that is commendable. If you've been smoking for 20 years, there's nothing I can say to convince you to stop, right? And it is not something that I would do, but I respect people
Who do
for their
that.
choice, right? And so I say that to say, perhaps this is what is going to happen with the age requirement. It's going to take some time for the committee and the officials and the authorities to realize that there needs to be an age requirement for the St. Kitts Music Festival.
Okay, you mentioned the Baina Amri. 2023, there were no divisions on the music festival stage. And the insinuation came from the other side of the Narrows that the Nevis acts were not up to scratch. This year, we had the Honeybee String Band. I think probably a first for those sort of traditional musical bands. And we had a Baina, Gingerland born, lived in New York, so we had two. How did the Nevis acts do?
I did not get the opportunity to see the Honeybees string band, but from all reports, they were authentic, absolutely amazing. Abena, I saw her performance, and it was powerful, it was moving, and she rocked the crowd. You know, usually people don't really get to the festival early, but when it was
They were
time
the first
for her,
act.
right?
Yeah.
When it was time for her to perform, there was a good crowd there, and they responded well to it. However, I want to mention something, Mr. Manners, because I've long heard the argument that, you know, we need more local acts, we need more people from Nevis, we need more local acts and so on. And I don't disagree. But there is some hypocrisy in it.
Okay.
And allow me to explain.
Sure.
The very same people who go on social media and other places and say we need more local acts, they are at home at 8 o'clock taking a shower to go to the festival. So help me understand why in one breath you're calling for more local acts. Our local people are calling for more local acts. But we decide we're not going to go to the festival early to see them. Now, when you're talking about music and entertainment, Mr. Manners, this may sound wrong, but I'm going to say it. Certain times are what you call, let me say, prime time. And so, frankly, you don't expect a Vibes Cartel to open a show.
Yeah.
You expect
You
it to
got to
close
earn
a
your
show.
spurs.
You don't expect Whitney Houston of blessed memory to open a show, right? Let us be real in what we're saying here. Yes, I absolutely support our local acts, in particular the Navisions, our Navisions, being afforded that opportunity to be on the international stage, because it is an international stage, because you're performing in front of a diverse audience. But we cannot, on one hand, say we need more local acts when we ourselves are not supporting them. We're not supporting them. We're not attending the events that they are performing at. We are going late to see the international acts. We're not supporting their musical journey and their musical career. We're not listening to their music. So sometimes, Mr. Manners, it comes across as I just want to say what everybody else is saying because it sounds good.
Okay.
And I cannot subscribe to that.
Okay. Now, I'll tell you what was a high point for me at the St. Kitts Music Festival, and it's going to surprise a lot of people. Of course, it is the creative space. So we have singers, we have dancers, etc. But we also had Nevis is leading wood sculpture. I saw him on the opening day at the press conference, sitting at the back, with a busk of Vice cartel. And I said, I wonder why. Right? But then at 4 a.m. on the night when Vibes Cartel returned to the hospital, to the hotel, the Marriott, Obi, of course the BBB, was on scene to capture what I thought was a transformational moment. He said that Isaiah Culture, that's his Rastafari name, Calvin Jones describes him as inspirational sculptor, insightful artistic human. He did something that I thought it was remarkable and great for publicity, for a discipline which we doesn't have the same profile as singers, dancers, etc. He presented that bust at 4 a.m. in the morning to Vibes Cartel. That's publicity right there. But reflect on Culturama, for instance. Culturama 50. And I advocated for that. I love street art. I said we should put on the walls of the cultural complex paintings of Irma Johnson, Calvin Howell, Lyra Richards, etc., etc. And they commissioned Vaughan Anslin, who is the greatest in his field, a family of yours, of course, and one of the best in the region. And he did a lot of abstract art on the walls of the cultural complex. As a matter of fact, NEPAC, opened on August 28th, 2012, doesn't have a picture of a single Nivision cultural icon on its walls. And I know when St. gets similar, you will see Elimat, you will see Bruce Kerritt, you will see all the big guys over there. Because they seem to have a different knack to us. We don't recognize our own as much as we ought to. One person commenting that Isaiah uses very rudimentary tools. Imagine what can happen if the government, the Ministry of the Creative Industry on Nevis, partners with him. This guy has done busk of Mandela and all the big people in the world. But if we were partnering with him to have an exhibition, say for Culturama 51, since we missed 50, I thought we missed the boat big time. So I wanted to speak for a minute on what that meant to you. This was not a singer, a dancer, a fifer or something. This is a creative guy who has been carving up there in Hamilton. Took the opportunity on St. Kitts to take his work of art and made a presentation to one of the biggest artists in the Caribbean, if not the world.
Mr. Manners, when you are an artist or a creative, it takes a lot. It takes a lot mentally, physically, and so on, in terms of the work that you put in to perfect what you are producing. And so I saw the busk on social media, and I appreciated it. And the reason why I appreciated it is because it's not easy for somebody to sit down and whether it be sculpt anything or create anything like that. And so one must appreciate and recognize the efforts, because I'll tell you, I can't do that.
I can't either.
Right? And so anybody who does it should not be taken for granted. You made the point that, with our cultural complex, we should have on display the mothers and fathers of
Up at Gingerland, we have David Freeman.
Right. So,
but at our main cultural center, there's not a picture or a painting of a single icon.
Right.
And Nevis has had many.
Right. And I totally agree with you. And this is something that the Culturama Secretariat would have to look at, whether it's a partnership with Isaiah Culture himself or any other artist, my cousin Vaughn, or anybody for that matter. But it is definitely something that should be looked at. But what I'm saying, Mr. Manners, is when creatives start to think and start to put their pieces together and put their work together, it is not something that we ought to take for granted, because it takes a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
It takes a lot to do that. It takes a lot to get it perfect, whether in your eyes or in their eyes. But it takes a lot, and it's something that should be respected and recognized.
Yes, it's 9:24. We could talk music festival all night, but we got other topics to turn to. But finally, because you mentioned J.D. Keynes, the caretaker for your constituency, but I'll mention something posted by another sister, Dr. Patricia Bartlett. I'm tired of watching Caribbean leaders living it up while poverty in the region continues to rob the people of their dignity. Nauseating. As Pat does, always short and to the point. I can't go inside her brain, but I think what she is referring to is the pictures which emerged at music festival or Culturama of our leaders, in VIP, VVIP booths, etc., living it up. And this year Gaston Brown and his wife, Maria, joined Prime Minister Jew and his lovely queen. But we saw all those images. Are we splurging money on things while there are more important things in our country? Eliminating poverty, getting into STEAM, and the other one with chat GDP and AI and all that stuff. Are we splurging monies on things to make our leaders, or for them to make themselves look splendiferous when there are pressing issues in our society?
What I would say, Mr. Manners, is definitely a greater focus needs to be paid towards eliminating poverty, so that is social and community development, education and skills training, and looking after the needs of our people. And that is not something that our leaders, our representatives should take for granted. However, in any society, there ought to be culture and entertainment. There ought to be music and entertainment. It can't be work Monday to Friday or Sunday to Sunday. At some point in time, you're going to have to just sit back, relax, enjoy the music, enjoy the entertainment, as entertainment should not be seen as necessarily just a side thing, but a part of everyday life, especially for your mental well-being. Because for some people, and as for me, it is a therapy. It is therapy at times. I don't know if it's therapy for everybody, but I'm just saying it is something that should be appreciated and understood. And I'll leave it there.
Okay, as we segue a little bit, let me speak to one of my favorite artists, Christopher Martin. Some people said he turned his set into a praise fest by ending his presentation this way. Yeah, he gave praise to God. We have come to the music festival. I saw lots of accidents. We have come to the first month of the Atlantic hurricane season. And Christopher Martin took time to remember the goodness of God. So we'll end the music festival set right there, and we'll turn to some Nevis issues. Today also marks 8 years and 1 month since our Alexandra Hospital construction commenced As I described it last week, it has been a comedy of errors. Even the Premier is getting tired of it. He said last week we should stop talking about it. Should we?
No.
No. Okay.
It is concerning, Mr. Manners, that despite millions being spent, the hospital expansion project remains incomplete. I too heard the Premier speaking on his program about we should basically saying we ought to stop talking about it because that is not the only thing not happening on the island of Nevis. And I was very insulted. I was very offended by it, and I think every right-thinking person, every right-thinking Nevisian, every right-thinking resident here on the island of Nevis ought to be upset, ought to be offended by those comments, because we're not just talking about the expansion of a facility. We're talking about millions of taxpayers' dollars. You understand? We right now we are dealing with a situation where the price of oil and the price of food may increase, or probably is going to increase very soon, where the $200 and $300 that we get per week is not going to be able to put food on the table. But here we have our Premier saying, stop making noise about hospital. It's been 8 years now. There are other things to talk about. I am offended. I am offended by that, because the funds used to build or to expand that hospital came from the Treasury. And how it got into the Treasury, we put it in there. And so all of us who pay taxes, every single Nevisian, born, unborn, are paying for the expansion of the Alexandra Hospital. And you ought to be outraged. You ought to be concerned that 8 years later, this is a project that was supposed to take 24 months. 24 months. So let's just say, okay, 24 months and we went over by 6. Man, I would have given them a pass, because mistakes happen, you know. And my father, who has worked in construction for many years, I've worked with him, and I've seen where things may not always go how you would want them to go. And you leave some room to correct things, to change things. But 8 years? Mr. Manners, 8 years is outrageous. And so how dare you tell me that I should not talk about it? It's been 8 years since 2017. This is 2025, and there is no end in sight. That for me is disrespectful to the people of Nevis. It is disrespectful to healthcare. It is disrespectful to the development of the country, because you came and you told us, the CCM administration came and told us in 2014, that they are going to expand the hospital. 2025, you cannot enjoy the expansion of the hospital. I heard the point being made that the current services have not been impacted. And okay, fine, I understand. But it does not water down in any way how serious and concerning it is that we have spent millions of dollars, and 8 years later we have no expansion. I don't care whether you're a CCM, an NRP, neutral, whatever. You should be concerned. You should be concerned. It says to me that the government can just do anything and get away with it. But nobody should say anything about it. If I go and commit a crime right now, bet your last dollar they are going to make an example out of me. So why it is that the government is allowed to spend millions of dollars on the expansion of a hospital, hospital, and 8 years later, nothing, and we shouldn't say anything about it. Are we dumb?
I heard a caller say that it's over budget, and the Premier, and it's not the first time he has done it, corrected him or attempted to correct him and say that it's not over budget. In other words, we were to spend 19 million and we ain't reached there yet. Well, Prices are going up every day. There's a fellow called inflation. Steel that could have been bought in 2021, cement, equipment, appliances have already skyrocketed. So where in effect they haven't spent 19 million, they already budgeted an additional 12, that takes it to 31. And if and when it resumes, everything will be more expensive. And the other thing is, let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Yeah, good evening, Devon and Mr. Manners.
Yes, good evening.
You see, it's a disaster for Nevis, right? With that hospital. The people is one you have to blame too, because the premier don't care. You rely on what the people them say. The majority of Nevis people, you are educate them every day and night about this thing. But a lot of them supporting the premier, which is we're supposed to hold him accountable. We give him 2 years to build a hospital, right? Election coming 5 years. Nothing happened. We're supposed to take the man out and put in somebody who more capable of handling the situation. If they fail, you put in somebody else who could do it. You understand? But we fail to hold the man accountable. It's like he put in a $2 in the pocket and they go on and support the others. They will keep the man in power. Keep this other party out, because this other party, when he go in, he does show up this party here in 5 years, take 15 years work. And that is the reality. Nevis people don't like to see NRP in power that do work for the people. There is no other party in Nevis could turn over that hospital but NRP. And he's going to just suck and suck the life of Nevis people, like from the small to the elder, going to be paying tax for that hotel, the hospital. And it's wrong. It's wrong. People got to understand, when somebody is wrong, say it's wrong. Don't call a spade a diamond, call a spade a spade. Right?
I got you.
But people afraid to admit it, man.
Yep.
But it's good to go and continue to talk, because, you know, karma hitting the premier. Karma hitting him. Because everybody talk about it, you know.
Yep.
Even the tourists them come looking and can't believe a great man who done so much for America from Nevis, and you give him a name of the hospital, and this is what? Suppose they take sick, they can't come here. All of these people are saying, but he man not take heed. He not take heed. The people them come here and talk about it, but you know, study about nobody. Once he could fly in a plane when he gets sick, and that is all. He can't so on about. Good program, and listen you after here. Continue to educate the people.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. You know, Dr. Patricia Bartlett sat in this seat in January, her first appearance, and told me that nothing will happen at the hospital in 2025. And I looked at her and I said, "You really believe that?" And she said, "Absolutely. We're halfway there. 6 months of the year have gone."
June ends today.
Yeah,
And
July
we haven't
begins
seen anything.
tomorrow.
But, you know, in addition to the hospital, Mr. Manners, we can't forget the airport. Right after the elections of December 2022, the NIA announced the appointment of Alexis Jeffers, who was rejected by the people in Nevis 4. Announced him as special advisor with responsibility for investments and with direct responsibility for the refurbishment or do over, whatever you call it, of the upgrade of the airport. And okay, I was like, okay, we're going to see something on the airport. You know, we look across at Anguilla, where their airport is doing really well, and so it was good. You know, it was good to hear that the government was going to focus on the upgrade of the airport. But that was January 2023. This is July 2025, and there's nothing. And so, I mean, these things are very vexing, you know, Mr. Manners, because it's like you're taking the people for fool. When I said earlier, are we dumb? I said that because it is like the government is saying that we are. You know, it is like the government is saying that we ought not to question, we ought not to query things that are happening and not happening on Nevis. And so we have the hospital, which is at a standstill, unfortunately, millions spent already, and even with regards to whether it is 19 or 20 or 25 million, the fact that our people are confused as to how much has been spent is concerning and requires an independent audit to ensure or to verify what exactly has been spent. And I say that, Mr. Manners, because we, over the last, let me say 5 years or more, have been getting different figures from different representatives in the NIA.
With receipts?
With receipts. So how do you tell me, or how do you convince me that it is $10 when I heard last week it was 8 with a receipt, and then the week before it was really 6, but no, it's actually 12. I mean, come on. Come on. We can't keep doing these things to our people. And then you have the airport upgrade. Nothing has been happening on that. You have the Mondo track, which I think is a really good idea and has really given our athletes the opportunity to shine as it relates to inter-primary and so on. But it needs to be completed.
Yeah.
We need to see the completion of the second phase. Because every time they're asked about the completion, they say, well, it is completed. Phase 1 is completed. We need to see the completion of the second phase of the Mondo track. We need to stop accepting these things. Like, it is okay for the government to take up 10, 15, 20 million dollars, spend it, and then there is no accountability. We shouldn't ask any question whatsoever. I mean, look at it like when you were a child, Mr. Manners, and your parents or whoever send you to the grocery store. They give you $5 and they tell you buy 2 big milk. You come back with 1. Are you telling me that your parents should not ask you where the other milk?
Well, that's the essence of democracy.
And then we wonder why children, the young children today, are so wayward. The government ain't setting an example. If you could take up millions and spend it, and 8 years later, you cannot complete a hospital. You need licks. And you can only get licks at the polls.
Another vexing issue is the fair share. In 2022, the Premier riled up Nevisians for 2 elections, August 5th, December 12th, federal and local, on the issue of fair share. He whipped Nevisians into a frenzy. Words were being flung across the Narrows like missiles between Israel and Iran.
You had to be ducking.
You had to be ducking. I remember one time saying on the program, are these the gentlemen who we feel proud to put in our public buildings, in our schools, and say, this is the Prime Minister, that's the Premier? They were calling people kunumunu. They were telling people that they pick up people from the connery dump and who had to use qualine to clean them up, right? And then here's what happened. Elections were won. And then he goes silent. The Prime Minister announced at a round table on February 6th that he had in his possession the fair share report from the World Bank. He said that his technical people were having a look at it. It was a long time before the Nevis government got it. On March 24th, the Prime Minister and the Premier flew off to Abuja, Nigeria. The Premier said he wasn't supposed to go, but the person who was supposed to go, who has no name, didn't make it, so he jumped on the plane for the 5-hour flight across the Atlantic. Sometime around that same time in March, he announced that he now has the report and they have to study it. In recent times, he's saying, we've been traveling so much, Mr. Brand had to go away to celebrate something, Eric Evelyn had to go away for personal matters. The last thing he's saying that Music Festival and Mango Festival is in the way, and next thing he's going to say, Culturama is in the way, delaying tactics. The leader of the NRP made a brilliant point on Freedom last Wednesday. Why don't bring in the technical people? You really think that the ministers he has They can make a good assessment of this World Bank report. Why don't hand it to the permanent secretary in finance and let him assemble a team? Why not he bring in Patricia Bartlett or the party leader who are brilliant on finance to help untangle this? He says he needs support. We don't back him in anything.
Mr. Manners, let me say this in local parlance. I'd shame.
You're a shame.
I'd a shame bad, right? When I hear this talk about this fair share thing, right? And let us not lose focus as it relates to the fair share issue or the fair share matter, whatever it is, by shifting the blame to the Prime Minister. And allow me to explain. It was the Premier who started this whole.
Yeah, but
we fair share.
But he also said he had no Charleston Accord with PM Joy.
But what I'm saying though, Mr. Manners, is what I'm saying is, yes, I believe that Nevis ought to get an equitable share of federal resources. But I'll tell you this, and I say it with no apology: the push from the Premier has never been genuine.
Never?
Never. It has never been genuine. And it pains me as a young Nevisian that you can get people riled up and all emotional over something that you know you were never ever genuine about it. Mr. Manners, if you are genuine about a project, you are going to see to it the completion. You understand? Explain to me how.
Let's take this. Take a pen, as they say. Good evening, caller. Caller? Oh, I think, yes, you should. Yeah, you should be on now. Start at the top, please.
Yes, sir. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right.
Good night to the other counterpart. What is a fair share? Please, I wanted to explain something to me. What is a fair share?
The Premier is the author of Fair Share. He's the one who should explain it.
Well, one of these days, he would have to come out and tell the Division public what he has done with the money that Mr. Timothy Harris gave him. Timothy went on the radio and he said, Bart is a bad spender. We would like to know what the money that Mr. Harris gave him to spend on Nevis, what they do with the money.
Well, Caller, I don't like the language give him, because we all believe we should have a fair share.
Yes, we should have a fair share.
Yeah.
But what they do with the money?
You're saying we should have greater accountability of the spending.
Right. Greater accountability for these people. They were elected by the people to serve. They said serve. They didn't ask for a salary. They asked for serving. And these people need to go to the Commonwealth heads of government. Let the Commonwealth heads of government deal with these guys and ask them not to take any salary for 8 months. And let me see what will happen. And it's only 3 Caribbean leaders would go that way. Even they're not getting any salary, they will go. The Right Honorable Minia Motla from Barbados will go. She will carry the government forward. Mr. Ralph Gonzalo of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, he will carry his government forward, even though he's not getting any pay. And Roosevelt Skerritt of Dominica will carry his government forward, because these fellows put up some rough tumbling with earthquake,
volcanoes.
And volcano, and they stood up. I stand up one time at WhatsApp TV that Mr. Gonzalo crying how the hurricane root down St. Vincent. He had a 1/4 leader, but I won't call the name at this moment. That leader, I will not call his name. But Mr. Gonzalo Minyamotla of Barbados and Roosevelt Skerritt of Dominica, they will carry their government forward without a salary. I don't see no other Caribbean countries will carry their government without a salary. They either resign or retire or get out of the country. Mr. Manos, good evening.
Hi, good evening, and thanks for your call.
Right. So, I say it's really vexing and it's concerning, because we keep hearing, about this fair share report, and it appears as if there is no urgency as it relates to the report. And okay, you've been busy, traveling and so on, state affairs. Okay, I understand that. But Mr. Manners, again, how can you be passionate about a project but you're dragging your foot with the project? If you're painting your house, Mr. Manners, and you're really passionate about seeing your house in a new coat of paint, I am pretty sure you're not going to keep postponing that to 6 months to a year later. You would prioritize it, and you would ensure that it happens. And so I'm calling on every division under the sound of my voice to don't get emotional and riled up from this fake outrage that we see as it relates to the fair share report. Listen attentively and analyze it for yourselves. This is not me at all saying that Nevis does not require or need or is entitled to an equitable share of state resources, federal resources. What I will not subscribe to is the fake outrage and the back and forth, and then we hear during an election all the noise and the rah 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 and the way. But outside of an election, we're not hearing much. That for me, Mr. Manners, is very, very concerning. But I realize we're soon wrapping up, so I want to shift gears a bit and
No, we'll do a little additional time. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to shift gears a bit, looking at some of the initiatives of the Nevis Reformation Party as, of course, here from a youth perspective. And I want to highlight specifically my caretaker, J.D. Keynes, who has been a champion as it relates to education, skills training, and really seeing young people do well and exceed. And so on the campaign trail back in 2022, when we were doing our house to house, that was the essence of the conversation. Education, skills training, employment, social and community development, because in order for you to have a strong and robust economy, your people must be educated, your people must be trained, your people must be employed. And to get them employed, you must offer the opportunity for them to get skills training and access to education. You will recall, and it is important for us to keep repeating this, but you will recall the program that we had under NRP, I think when Mr. Daniel was the Minister of Social Development, where a number of young men went to Trinidad, I believe it was, for skills training. And today, a number of those young men are contributing to the local economy, and they are employing people. And so a few things that we have been pushing, and JD has been pushing, is better maintained schools. We cannot be in the business of fixing schools a week before school reopens. We on break, you could say, kind of on break right now because school is about to close. The Ministry and Department of Education needs to send a representative or the education officers or whoever it is into all of the schools now. Assess what is needed and begin the work. Don't wait until August 16th to say, okay, we're going to do some major work at the schools and what. Mr. Manners, it happens every year. And so what we would want to see, better maintained schools, which would mean you have a maintenance budget. And so if you allocate $10 million to education and skills training, you have to make some sort of section in there for the maintenance of the school. And with that, you spend less money because you're not going back and forth to try to fix up a school 2 weeks before you extend school close, children home, and all of these different things. We also have the establishment of an educational complex that includes the sixth form, adult and continuing education, and university courses, in-person and hybrid. I think it was in the 90s, the 80s, the late 80s, where there was this partnership with a university in Miami. We had a number of senior education officials today took advantage of that opportunity, which was presented under an NRP administration. If we could do that in the 90s, why we can't do that in 2025? And so this is what, we would love to see, and this is what JD has been pushing on the campaign trail to not just people in St. Paul's, but generally across the island, and equality for children in terms of no discrimination. I think it was a few programs ago where JD spoke about an issue where there were some children who were not being given the opportunity to attend school, and because of her advocacy on the issue, they are now in school.
Yeah.
And so it shows that there's power in your voice.
Gains with canes.
Gains with canes. There's power in your voice, and we ought not to sit idly by and play dead. We ought to speak up on issues that are affecting our people, and we need to be more outspoken, not necessarily controversial, but more outspoken as it relates to the issues that we are facing here on the island of Nevis. We're not dead.
We're going to get to Culturama in a bit, but I want you to help me wrap your brain around an issue which has been bugging me. The Prime Minister has been Prime Minister for 2 years and 11 months. And we have said from this platform on many occasions that he's yet to pay an official visit to Nevis. When he got in, he said he wanted to be the Prime Minister of all the people. I mentioned the trip to Abuja, Africa, Nigeria, March 24th. He just came back from there. 2 trips in a couple of months. And they talk glowingly that it is the 6th region. The Caribbean is the 6th region. The Premier jumped on the plane and went with him the first time around. Over the last 2 weeks, I've heard callers to the Premier's show ask him, why has the Prime Minister not come to Nevis? It was a female caller first. Last week was a male caller, and we had all kind of reasons. It seemed as if the Premier doesn't want the Prime Minister to come to Nevis to sit down to talk with the Nevisian people. And I've been wondering, is he afraid that questions may be raised about election campaign financing for the federal elections of 2022? Is he afraid that questions might be asked about the electoral process which goes on up at Chapel Street? Is he afraid of questions about the fair share, why the Charlestown police station is taking so long, or the prison farm has been without a vehicle for so many months? Is he afraid to take the Federal Minister of Health to a visit to the Comedy of Errors at Government Road, the Alexandra Hospital? And you know what the Premier said last week? The Prime Minister don't have to come to Nevis. And the person said, but he has to have a sit down with the people of Nevis. We want to know about fair share. He said, well, when he talk in St. Kitts, you don't hear him? I don't think the Premier understands what representation is all about. We got pressing issues. COVID is on the downslide. We want fair share. There's so many things we'd like to say to the Prime Minister. And we're heading up for 3 years. And I can guarantee you, when you sit down for the next round table with him, he'll grin as usual and say, I was over there for the Mango Festival. You didn't see me down by Sunshine. We demand more than that. We demand representation. We demand that all leaders hear from us. But the Premier seems as if he doesn't want the Prime Minister to come to Nevis. I don't know if you can wrap your head around that.
We have a caller?
We have a caller. Caller, welcome to Your Voice. We're in the
Mr.
dining
Manners,
room. Yes.
Again, a 81 storage building in France took less time to build. 81 storage building, and a 2 storage building can't finish and it can't complete. It's a shame, burning shame. Good night, sir.
Good night. Good night.
81 storage.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. Sorry about that. You sit with the Prime Minister. What do you think is at work here? Mind you, let's hear from this caller. Good evening, caller.
Mr. Manners, good night.
Hi, good night.
Good night, Devon.
Good night, caller. Good night.
Good night to all the listeners. Mr. Manners, but let me tell you that too much pressure that the Prime Minister now come.
Pressure?
Let me tell you that.
Yeah, but what do you mean?
Let me tell you that.
What do you mean by pressure? I don't get.
Remember me ask you if when the Prime Minister come, if they go ask about fair share. You remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
Let me tell you, boy, too much pressure, boy, now come. Remember me tell you that?
Yes, I remember that.
Anyway, me think that it look bad. So that me one premier, and then you got one island administration. Then the Prime Minister just going to pick up himself just like that, and just come over the head of the premier. And the premier is supposed to invite him.
Mm-hmm.
But the point about it is that the premier said that he never, you know, hear that?
I listen to everything. Go
he
ahead.
never hear nobody from over there. So that they need the Prime Minister for Congo. So you hear that?
Yes, man, I listen to everything.
So the female caller, who the female caller be?
Well, I don't know. I don't know who the female caller is.
Yeah, but the female caller begging for invite over there something, so he can't say that he never hear nobody say. You get, even if you not listen to our program, you get the point?
Yeah, I get the point.
At the least, the female caller tell he direct. You sound direct.
Yeah.
I'm begging, and you will tell the female caller, man, if when me want him, me get it. So, Mr. Manners, yeah, me guess now that you better step over the premier head and give the Prime Minister one direct call. No. This is going to be the only so. Either the leader do that or somebody do that. But if I go wait now, just pan the Prime Minister for come by himself or the Premier for invite, I don't know how to ever get it. So I don't know I'm going to give he one direct call until he comes back.
What I want to see, now the Pinnis Park, I don't know if you know it, it's a lovely place. The Premier boasts it's the most used place in Nevis, and that is true. I want to see two leaders sit down there with the Nevisian audience and field questions on important issues which impact the lives of Nevisians.
But just wait. Now that you bring up that, not me a thing, but the Premier willing to go on debate.
Well, somebody asked him if he is prepared to debate the party leader of the NRP, and he said he has no problems. But this is not a debate.
No.
This is a heart-to-heart talk with the Nevisian people, with the Premier and the Prime Minister.
Yeah, but if in interest to bring over the Prime Minister, I go get. Look, no. They're mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling, yeah.
Yeah, and they cannot even. So,
he'll be here for the Mango Festival, don't worry.
Oh, well, Timmy, when it comes to the Mango Festival, holy one time.
We'll see what
you get that?
We'll see what we can do.
Yes. Okay, then.
Okay, thank you very much. You've been able to...
Yeah. So, Mr. Manners, I want to say that we elect representatives in Nevis. We do not elect representatives
in St. Kitts.
in St. Christopher 1 to 8. And so it therefore means that we ought to hold our representatives accountable, the people who we elect to govern us. Yes, he is the Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And of course, he has accountability for the island of Nevis. However, the island of Nevis has a Nevis Island Administration. And what I don't want, Mr. Manners, is for us to be shifting that accountability from the Nevis Island Administration to that of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis.
No, we're not shifting.
Or the federal
We're calling on
government.
both.
Right, right. But in certain spaces, I have to say, it appears as if we're shifting the accountability. And I don't want us to be doing that.
Okay.
I want us to continue to hold our leaders responsible, our representatives in Nevis responsible. And I'm saying that because we hold our representatives here responsible, and we call on them to call on our federal representatives to have a conversation with them. Of course, okay, this is not me saying that Mr. Manners or anybody for that matter cannot request an audience with the Prime Minister. But I'll tell you my point of view with this, Mr. Manners. I don't know what questions I could possibly ask the Prime Minister as it relates to Alexandra, when quite frankly he was not directly involved.
But he is the federal minister of health.
He is the federal minister
who
of
is
health.
trying
Yes.
to take us to a different level by building a smart hospital. As St. Kitts goes, Nevis goes.
And I don't dispute that, Mr. Manners. What I'm saying is we can't skip over the NIA.
Okay.
And so those questions must be asked and answered by the NIA.
Okay.
As far as the Constitution, as far as I know, as it relates to the Constitution, is the federal government is responsible for things like national security, which is fire, police, and so on. And so any question that I have as it relates to healthcare, I am going to ask the Minister of Health. Any question that I have as it relates to education, well, in Nevis, of course, I am going to ask the Minister of Education, right? Of course, if you're not getting any satisfaction or any accountability, I could definitely also understand the need to ask the federal representative. But from past experiences, Mr. Manners, I can tell you that being federal minister of this and federal minister of that is just on paper, right?
Okay.
As it relates to education, in certain aspects, the buck really stops with the Minister of Education in Nevis, right? Hence the reason we don't have a Minister of National Security in Nevis. We don't have a minister responsibility for fire and rescue services that is on the island of St. Kitts. And so while I understand the frustration and I understand that, yes, the Prime Minister has accountability to the island of Nevis, I am saying that we ought not to lose focus, and we ought not to, if we are, shifting the focus to the federal government and giving the NIA a pass for what they are constitutionally obligated to do.
I have neither lost focus. Let's take this caller. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, good evening. We've been asking questions for years. Are we getting any answers? Are we getting any accountability? No. So here we may say again tonight, and we may accustomed to say, this thing has nothing to do with no CCM and NRP. No. This has to do with Nevis and the betterment for the country and its people. And this man, the neighbor man, already. And you see what you do. So we get together and get rid of the man. We don't need to want to see no that do. What we want to do is get together and get rid of the man.
Thank you.
I concur.
I was saying that I'm neither shifting focus or not calling for accountability. I believe, as I mentioned earlier, the Prime Minister has made 2 trips to Abuja, and you won't get any arguments from me there. They say it's their 6th region. I don't believe outside of Marcus Mosiah Garvey and Robert Nesta Marley, there's a bigger Pan-Africanist than myself. So I applaud what he's doing. Those trips, I think, are useful and will characterize his prime ministership. But nobody is going to tell me that you're going to fly to Nigeria, which is your 6th, and you say we are the 6th region of Africa, and that you will continually ignore the 1st region or the 2nd region, whichever one you want to put Nevis in. But anyway, we leave that there. We've got 9 minutes after 10, Culturama. We must talk a little bit about Culturama 51.
Mr. Manners, as it relates to, we have a caller?
Yeah, let's take this call quickly. Caller, you've got to be quick. We have already gone 9 minutes over time.
Good evening. I was trying to get in.
Yeah, well, you're in. Go ahead.
Okay. And this is about the island of St. Kitts and Nevis and the federal government. Unless the Constitution is changed, the nonsense will continue. Because who is in charge of St. Kitts? St. Kitts does not have an island government. So where do they get money to run their island? It has to be a Nevis Island administration, a St. Kitts Island administration, and the federal government in charge of both islands. This is real crazy stuff. I could understand when it first began that they put a pause and had this thing with Nevis Island administration and nothing in St. Kitts, because they knew and they still know that Kittitians always vote for the Labour government. And so if they were going to have St. Kitts Island government, it would have been a Labour, and they didn't want it. And so they use their tricks or whatever to put it on pause. And after all these years, it's the same. Where does St. Kitts get money to run the island from? Who is running St. Kitts? These are the questions that we have to ask and look at it that way. It's going to be confusion all the time. The Prime Minister has a right to come to Nevis and meet the people in Nevis, and even bring over his cabinet and introduce them to the people in Nevis. Everybody does not go to St. Kitts. I don't even know most of the people in St. Kitts on the cabinet. I just know their names and so on. Never met them, don't know how they look. Bring them to Nevis. And that's all I have to say on this issue.
Okay, we've got a 42-year-old problem. And we've had 4 prime ministers. None have paid attention to it, constitutional reform. It's an interesting debate, and we'll further it in future programs, but we're over time. Your thoughts on Culturama 51, right. How are things going?
Right, so I want to begin firstly by saying, Mr. Manners, that Culturama belongs to all of us. It does not belong to any political organization. It does not belong to any group of people. It belongs to all of us as Nevisians, as residents here on the island of Nevis. And regardless of our political affiliation, we ought to give of our all, give of our best to the preservation and the promotion of culture and Culturama. And that, I believe, would only allow the festival to grow and to grow and to grow, right? But while I'm saying that, Mr. Manners, I believe there are a few areas where we can definitely improve. A few areas that definitely need attention. But before we can even talk about those areas that require attention or requires improvement, what I said earlier need not to fall on deaf ears. And so let us remove the bad mind and the jealousy and, all is for me and me alone as it relates to Culturama, because it belongs to all of us. It is something that all of us should support. And so Mr. Manners and John Doe should have equal opportunity to contribute to Culturama. and is not necessarily just contributing where at the end of it you get a check, but it is contributing where in some cases it is volunteerism, because I mean, I obviously wasn't around at the start of Culturama, but I can, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe when Culturama started, it was volunteerism. It was a lot of people who you mentioned earlier, Johnson, Howell, Lyra Richards, who...
Antilita.
Gloria Anslin, who gave of their time and effort to the promotion and preservation of Culturama. And so the onus is now on us to continue that and to continue adding towards the development and the advancement of Culturama. But for me, if we want to see something grow, we want to see something develop, then we ought to participate. I've been making my contribution as it relates to Calypso, and I've grown to love and have a better understanding for Calypso over the last 8 years, Mr. Manners. I have learned hundreds of songs, and I have some of the copies home still, and I keep saying that I need to take them to Anastasia, who's the head of the library, so that 20 years from now, some child could go there and look at the lyrics that our Calypsonians penned. But Calypso is the poor man's newspaper.
Yes, that's what it is.
It is a platform for people to speak about what is happening and not happening, you know. And so it has been an amazing journey in lending my contribution in that field, and also trying out in different areas. But as it relates to what more can we do, it has to begin with the people. And so conversations with our people in terms of, what do you think we should do? What would you like to suggest, you know, as it relates to keeping Culturama authentic, while at the same time adapting to the current trends and realities? And if we begin the conversations with our people, that would be the step in the right direction. I would love to see a Culturama with an NRP administration, with J.D. Keynes as Minister of Culture, because she has contributed significantly to Culturama, pageant coach, judge, and all of these different things. And so she has the eye and the understanding for it. But needless to say, it belongs to all of us, and we ought to make our contribution. But at the same time, those in charge must allow us to, allow everybody, let me say that, to make their contribution. But Mr. Manners, before we wrap up, I want to speak briefly about a number of initiatives that are happening within the Nevis Reformation Party. Firstly, I want to remind our listeners and viewers of the NRP St. Paul's Constituency Group's Summer Recovery Raffle. We know that during this season, it's slow season, especially for those in the tourism industry, the hospitality industry. And so the St. Paul's Constituency Group, which I have the honor of leading, we decided that we were going to do a summer recovery raffle where you have 3 chances to get to $10,000. You have $2,000, $3,000, and $5,000. The cost for a ticket is $50, and the drawing takes place on August 3rd, 2025. Tickets are available at Level Up Sports Bar and Grill here on Happy Hill Drive there. We have at Sandy's Bar, Sandy's Fried Chicken there in Brown Hill. We have at Lil Cherry Tree Bar in Barnes, that's there by Bess, Patrick Daniel. And we also have among members of the St. Paul's Constituency Group, the chair, Carlisle Powell. He also has tickets. And for those of you who are overseas, I know we have some tickets being sold in New York at the moment. And we're trying to get tickets in other areas where we know Nevisians reside. But support. Tickets are available. Don't wait until the last minute until we've sold all of the tickets to miss this exciting opportunity at the Summer Recovery Raffle. Mr. Manners, I also want to make mention of the all-white cultural brunch, with a touch of Madras, which is being hosted by the NRP Women's Arm. And the date they have selected is Sunday, August 3rd. And so Sunday, August 3rd is a big day for the NRP. We have the Summer Recovery Raffle, we have the all-white cultural brunch, and I think they are in their third year. It's time to be corrected. And this takes place at the Occasions Entertainment Complex on the lawn.
Okay.
They're taking it outside this time, and as you heard me say earlier, with a touch of Madras, and so we are incorporating culture. And as the time, as we get closer to the date, we are going to have more details about that. Also happening this Culturama or summer season, we have Grown and Groovy, which is coming back. We did it last year for the very first time, and it was well received. And so we've decided to come back again for a second year. So we have Grown and Groovy, which is really for people who are 30 and older, you know. And we have on the lineup Garlic and the Upper Level Band, which really rocked the place last year. And we have added DJ Dr. P, who will come and do his thing. Entry is $50. We have this event will be held at the patio, Lynn's Deli, here in Charlestown. Very accessible venue, very spacious. It will begin at 8 p.m. until we have a fully stocked cash bar. We'll have a few food items on sale at very, very, very affordable prices. And we have some amazing giveaways. I don't know where else you can go to get all of this, Mr. Manners, for just $50. And that is happening on July 26th. That is Saturday, July 26th. So we have Saturday, July 26th for the Grown and Groovy event. We have August 3rd for the all-white cultural brunch. Also happening on August 3rd is the Summer Recovery Raffle. Then we have later in August, the party leader, the Honorable Dr. Daniel Hodge, invites you to join her and her team in New York for a mix and mingle. And this is happening on Saturday, August 30th from 4 to 8 p.m. at 781 Castle Hill Avenue in the Bronx, New York. Tickets are $75 US, and you may reserve your tickets by contacting 1-917-939-9943. But for more details, you can check out the NRP's social media handles, Facebook. We have a WhatsApp channel for more details on that. Enjoy good music, food and drinks, and we look forward to seeing and hearing from you. Mr. Manners is quite a few things, but I also want to mention the St. George's constituency group. They will be having a takeaway breakfast on Saturday, July 5th. I believe that is this coming Saturday, beginning at 6:37, and the cost for that is $20. And so there are a number of things happening within the Nevis Reformation Party, and we are also giving back, Mr. Manners. I want to make mention of an initiative launched by JD, and it is a assistance program for uniforms. And so just allow me to quickly share the details about that. It is called Lend a Hand School Uniform Program. Tunics, shirts, pants, skirts, and we are accepting new and gently used school uniforms for Nevis-based pre-primary and secondary schools and the Nevis Sixth Form College. And you are encouraged to drop off your items by July 19th, 2025. For more information, you may contact 663-4423. That's JD. You may contact her at 663-4423. So we have a number of things happening. Fundraisers, but we're giving back. Right? And so it's going to be a busy summer for the Nevis Reformation Party, and we're asking for your support to help us to do this, to make Nevis nice again. Nevis is nice, but nicer.
Nicer.
Make Nevis nicer. Mr. Manners, thank you so much for having me on the program. Fifth Monday. I always look forward to the conversation with you, and of course with our listeners at home and abroad, to educate them about what is happening and what is not happening on the island of Nevis, and really to encourage my peers, my young people, to look at what is happening across the island. I like to say, listen to both sides, right? Listen to both sides, especially for those who are, undecided. Listen to both sides. But I can tell you, when you listen to both sides, from the NRP, you get substance. You get something that is promising. From the other side, I don't even know, because they can't even finish hospital. So you can't take them man serious. Mr. Manis, thank you, and I look forward to coming back here at the next 5th month.
We'll check our calendars to see when that is. But we're very happy to have had you tonight. We know it was a hectic weekend and a hectic day as you wrap up a very successful 27th Music Festival on Sync Hits. A slew of activities with the NRP. Simply put, it's an NRP summer.
It is.
That's what it's going to be, chock full of activities. And finally, you mentioned the name of Patrick Best Daniel up there in Barnesgott. We extend sympathies to the family.
Yes, yes.
They laid their matriarch to rest sometime this week. I can't remember if it's Thursday or Friday.
I think it's Friday.
Friday. So we wish them all the best as they lay their matriarch to rest. That's our show. 8:26. We've given you 90 minutes and 26 minutes more. We know you're satisfied. Good night.
Your voice with the NRP. This and every Monday, 8:30 to 10 p.m. Join host Stephen Semanas and the NRP candidates as they amplify your voice.
Are you concerned about your health? Come on, everyone should be. The old people say that who don't pay a doctor will pay a pastor or someone